Tiny Toons was a pretty big deal back in the early 90s. It seemed like it was on TV just about any chance a station could show a block of cartoons. I was never that into it myself, since I was never a big Looney Tunes fan in the first place, but I can't deny that I was definitely in the minority on that one. A lot of kids really loved Tiny Toons, and of course anything that popular with kids back then was gonna get its fair share of video games made. Tiny Toons did just that with games spanning from the PlayStation 2 all the way down to those god-awful Tiger Electronic handheld games. I personally only ever played the Super NES game called Buster Bust Loose, so let's see if it does the show any justice at all. As soon as you turn the game on, you're treated with a nice Mode 7 Tiny Toons logo and a great rendition of the theme song. After that, you get a threadbare story as Babs and Buster sets up each stage before you start with some pretty cringeworthy dialogue sequences. Once you skip those out of sheer embarrassment, you get tossed right into the game, so I hope you read the instructions before you started. Buster Bust Loose is basically your standard platform game with a few twists here and there. Buster runs and jumps around easily enough, but you can't just hop on top of enemies and kill them. Instead, there's a separate button for a jump and kick attack that just sorta looks and acts like a jump. It's actually kinda awkward to use since Buster jumps into the air before he kicks, which can result in you going over the top of enemies' heads sometimes. Overall, it seems needless and probably would have just been better off letting you jump on enemies' heads like every other platform game in existence. Buster can also use a limited dash that allows him to run up walls and jump extra far. It's really fun to do for the most part, and a lot of the stages are built around using it to navigate large obstacles or find hidden areas. You can only use it as long as your dash meter lasts though, so don't get stuck in the middle of a long jump with no dash power left, or you'll be falling to your doom fairly regularly. The worst thing about the dash is that it can sometimes be a bit unwieldy. Press the wrong direction during a dash and you'll suddenly have Buster dashing all over the place until you can get him back under control again. For the most part, it's not a big problem, but it usually happens at the worst times, sending Buster off into a group of enemies or right off the side of a ledge. Still though, it's fun to use and definitely more fun than that stupid kick attack. After you get the controls down, it's time to settle in for a standard trek through 16-bit platform Game Town. The stages are all pretty generic, including such timeless classics as a Wild West stage, a space stage, and of course the haunted house stage with spooky ghosts and vampires in tow. If you're looking for innovation here, you best look elsewhere. This is a Tiny Toons game after all. There is one stage that stands out though, that being the football stage where you're playing the last drive of the game and down by one score. You can either run or pass the ball to get down the field, and it's actually really fun and kinda out of nowhere compared to the rest of the game. But even if the rest of the stages are nothing too special, they're at least all pretty fun to play and offer up a good deal of gameplay variety. Besides your standard platforming, you'll occasionally have to do stuff like find keys to open locked doors, or hide behind stuff to avoid massive laser blasts. You get a few bosses here and there as well, but none really offer up that much of a challenge. But the game at least seems to have fun with what it was given to work with, and you can definitely see that it shines through in most of the stages, even if you feel like you're playing through platform game number 487 sometimes. Stages are broken up with some fairly interesting minigames. Spin a wheel and get a randomly chosen game that helps you net a few 1-ups to use in the real game. Some are kind of fun, like helping Babs find her friends in an overhead maze, while others like Bingo are completely random and really no fun at all. I guess they're all fine for what they are, but I wish I could choose what I wanted to play instead of having it chosen for me. I'd always rather play the Babs game over something like guessing characters' weight. Seriously, who thought a guess the weight game would be fun in a video game? You probably won't have too much trouble making it through Buster's 6 stages, and once you do, there's very little to keep you coming back for more. Some stages can certainly be challenging, but you'll usually have gained a good deal of 1-ups from the minigames, so you'll probably never see a game over screen unless you just turn off the Super NES in frustration. Overall though, Buster Bust Loose isn't a bad game at all. I remember having fun with it when I rented it as a kid, and it's at least got some great graphics and music throughout. So if for some reason you're looking for a fun but short Tiny Toons game on the Super NES, well, here's your game. You could probably do a lot worse than Buster Bust Loose, and I can at least say that it's way better than that Tiger handheld game.